Dive into the mystical currents of the Euphrates River, where history, prophecy, and environmental mysteries intertwine. The ancient river, whispered about in religious texts, now sparks discussions of apocalyptic events and even hints at the involvement of kings from the east, potentially China. As the waters recede, revealing environmental consequences, the story takes an unexpected turn, weaving fallen angels, an apocalypse horsemen, and archaeological secrets into its narrative. Brace yourself for a journey through the sacred and the surreal, where the only salvation lies in repentance and faith amid the looming shadows of end times. The Euphrates River is like a time-traveling storyteller, mentioned in olden stories and highly respected by many ancient people. Think of it as a river with a rich history and a special place in the hearts of different civilizations. It's not just any river. It's a river that has been talked about in religious writings, especially in a part of the Bible called the Book of Revelation. This adds a kind of mystery to what's happening to it now. To really get what's going on with the Euphrates, it helps to go back in time in our minds. Imagine ancient times when people relied on the river for many things. This background is like a key to unlocking the secrets behind the prophecies that talk about the river drying up. It's almost like a puzzle, and understanding the history and culture of the people who lived along the Euphrates is like putting the puzzle pieces together. So the Euphrates is not just a river losing water. It's part of a bigger ancient tale. Knowing its history is like having a roadmap to follow as we explore why it's drying up and what it might mean for today. The river is like a character in a story, and by understanding its past, we can better understand the mysteries surrounding its present condition. Many people believe that if the Euphrates River dries up, it's like a big sign that Jesus might come back. This idea comes from religious thoughts, especially from reading a part of the Bible called the Book of Revelation. So, the article takes a closer look at the parts in the Bible that talk about the Euphrates and tries to understand what different religious thinkers say about it. Think of it like exploring a treasure map. In this case, a map made of words in an old book. The Bible has some special sentences that talk about the Euphrates and connect it to the idea of Jesus returning. The article wants to help everyone understand what these sentences say and what different religious people think they mean. But we don't want to make it too complicated. No one needs to be a Bible expert to get it. The goal is to explain these ideas in a way that's easy for everyone to follow. We're not trying to make your head spin with difficult words or confusing ideas. Instead, it's like having a friendly chat about what some people believe and why they think the Euphrates drying up might be a clue about the big Jesus comeback. Let's dig into something pretty interesting. The idea that kings from the east might be part of a big prophecy, and some folks are thinking it could be talking about China. It's like connecting puzzle pieces between an ancient story and what's happening in the world today. The article takes a friendly stroll through this idea, not trying to say it's a sure thing, but exploring the similarities. So there's this prophecy thing, and it mentions kings coming from the east. Now people are saying, could this be about China? Why? Well, the Bible talks about these kings having huge armies, and guess what? China's got a supersized military. It's not saying, yep, that's definitely it, but more like, hey, this is interesting. Let's think about it. The article keeps it simple, like chatting with a friend. It says, look, the Bible talks about big armies, and China's got a big army. Could they be connected? But here's the cool part. It's not trying to be a know-it-all. It's saying, we're not 100% sure, and that's okay. Let's be fair about it. It's like having a balanced meal. The article gives you both sides. It points out that this idea is a bit like a mystery. Not everyone might see the same picture when you connect the dots. And it's not just about China having a big military. It's also about what that might mean for the world, the geopolitics stuff. The article isn't trying to make your head spin. It's more like a friendly guide, saying, let's think about this together and consider what it could mean for the big world picture. So it's a simple, fair look at a pretty intriguing idea. Let's step out of the prophecy talk for a moment and look at what happens in the real world when the Euphrates River starts losing water. It's not just a story. It's something that affects people's lives for real. The article takes a practical approach, like talking about everyday things, to show how important this is. So imagine the Euphrates River is like a giant tap that many people rely on. Farmers, who grow the food we eat, depend on this river to water their crops. Now, if the river gets smaller, it's like turning down the tap. Less water means trouble for growing food, and that's a big deal. It's not just about the farmers. It's about everyone who needs that water for their daily lives. The article zooms in on the details. how this water shortage affects not only the farmers, but also the people living nearby. It's not just one problem. It's like a chain reaction. When there's not enough water for crops, it messes up the balance of nature, affecting everything around it. Think of it like a ripple effect in a pond. One thing changes, and it touches everything nearby. The article isn't just talking about it. It's saying, hey, this matters a lot. It's not just about the river. It's about the food we eat, the jobs people have, and the way nature works. It's a bit like a wake-up call, saying, look, we've got to pay attention to this because it's urgent. We need to find ways to fix these problems before they get even bigger. It's not about blaming anyone. It's about realizing we all need to pitch in to tackle these environmental challenges. The article is like a friendly reminder that we share this planet and we need to take care of it together. Now things get really interesting. We're talking about fallen angels, an apocalypse horseman, and even digging up old stuff at the dried-up Euphrates River. Imagine it like a mix of a cool adventure story and a history lesson. So, some folks are chatting about more than just a shrinking river. They're throwing in these mysterious ideas, fallen angels, and a horseman from the apocalypse. It's like bringing a touch of magic or ancient legends into the conversation. The article jumps into these discussions, not to make them sound like wild stories, but to explore the meanings behind them. It's kind of like being a detective in a mystery novel. The article asks, why are people talking about fallen angels and an apocalypse horseman in the same breath as the Euphrates River? But here's the catch. It's not trying to make things sound crazy or scary. It wants to keep the curiosity alive without going overboard into sensational stuff. It's like saying, hey, these ideas are pretty intriguing. Let's explore the symbolic side, the magic and mystery, without making it sound like a spooky ghost story. It's a friendly guide through the fascinating twists and turns of these discussions, aiming to keep things interesting without getting too carried away. After all, it's about understanding the different layers of the story and not just turning it into a wild tale. As the Euphrates River unveils its enigmatic tale of prophecy and environmental upheaval, the echoes of an ancient narrative resonate with modern significance. China's colossal military, a potential player in this apocalyptic script, adds geopolitical intrigue. Beyond the mysticism, the river's decline presents tangible challenges. Water scarcity imperils livelihoods. The video's journey explored surreal elements, fallen angels, an apocalypse horseman, and archaeological wonders beneath the drained riverbed. In these uncertain times, a resounding call for repentance and faith emerges as the beacon of hope, navigating the currents of impending end times with a plea for spiritual awakening.